Captain Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship and looked out at the most beautiful sight he had ever seen. The Galactic Council station floated in space like a giant crystal flower. Its walls were made of some clear material that caught the light from nearby stars and made it dance in rainbow colors. Ships from 12 different alien worlds moved around it like busy insects. Jake had dreamed of this moment since he was a boy. Humanity was finally going to join the galactic community. After 20 years of preparing and learning alien languages, they were ready to take their place among the stars. Ambassador Lisa Chen walked up beside him. She carried a small bag that held all of humanity's hopes. Inside were examples of human art, music, science, and technology. Everything they needed to prove that humans deserved a place in the galaxy. "Are you nervous?" Jake asked her. Lisa smiled. "A little. But we have so much to offer them. Our computers think faster than anything they have. Our doctors can fix problems that other species cannot solve. We have learned to live on worlds that others think are impossible." Their ship docked with the station. Jake and Lisa walked through halls filled with creatures they had only seen in videos before. The Vorthak looked like tall, thin ghosts made of blue light. The Zephyrians wore heavy armor and had faces like lions. The Kelani had tentacles instead of arms and eyes that changed color when they talked. The council chamber was huge. 12 seats were arranged in a circle, each one made for a different type of alien body. In the center was a small platform, where Jake and Lisa would stand to make their case. The council members filed in one by one. Jake recognized each species from his studies. The Drakmori were the oldest and most respected. They had founded the council thousands of years ago. Their leader, Chairman HFY, had skin like old leather and eyes that seemed to see everything. Lisa stepped forward and began to speak. Her voice was translated into 12 different languages at once. "Great beings of the Galactic Council," she said, "I come before you as a representative of humanity. We are a young species, but we are eager to learn and to contribute to galactic civilization." She showed them human inventions, computers that could think and learn, medicine that could cure diseases by rebuilding the body from the inside, engines that could push ships faster than ever before. "In just 200 years, Lisa explained, we have gone from simple farmers to space travelers. We have learned to live underwater, in frozen wastelands, and in the depths of space. We adapt quickly and solve problems that seem impossible." The East Council members listened without speaking. Some of them made notes on devices that glowed with strange light. Others seemed to be talking to each other in ways Jake could not see or hear. Lisa talked about human culture. She played music that made some of the aliens lean forward with interest. She showed them paintings and sculptures that displayed human creativity. She told them about human values, like freedom, equality, and the right of every person to choose their own path in life. "We believe," she said, "that diversity makes us stronger. On our world, we have many different peoples with different ideas and ways of living. This has taught us to value what makes each person special." When Lisa finished speaking, the council members began to discuss among themselves. Jake could not understand their languages, but he could tell the conversation was intense. Some seemed excited by what they had heard. Others looked worried or angry. Chairman HFY finally stood up. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "We have heard your presentation," he said. "We have reviewed your species' history and capabilities. The council must now vote on whether humanity will be granted membership." Jake held his breath. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future. "The Nurians vote yes," said a voice like flowing water. Jake smiled. At least one species supported them. But then the rejections began. The Zephyrians vote no. "This species is too aggressive and violent." The Kelani vote no. "Their rapid expansion threatens established trade routes." The Vorthak vote no. "They advance too quickly without wisdom." One by one, 11 of the 12 council members rejected humanity. Jake felt his heart sink with each vote. Chairman HFY stood again. "The Galactic Council has spoken. Humanity is denied membership. Your species is deemed too volatile, too aggressive, and too unpredictable for galactic society." Lisa stepped forward. But Chairman, surely our achievements speak for themselves. We have shown that we can contribute to galactic civilization. That is precisely the problem, HFY replied. You have achieved in centuries what takes other species thousands of years. This reckless pace of development is dangerous. Your history shows constant warfare, genetic tampering, and the creation of artificial minds. Such behavior cannot be tolerated among civilized species. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. So you punish us for being successful? For solving our problems quickly? We protect the galaxy from chaos, the chairman said coldly. Your species will return to your home system immediately. You have 72 hours to leave council space. Any human vessels found beyond your solar system's boundaries will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. The council members began to file out of the chamber. The meeting was over. Humanity had been rejected. As Jake and Lisa walked back to their ship, neither spoke. The beautiful crystal station now looked cold and unwelcoming. The alien ships they had admired now seemed like prison guards watching to make sure they left. Once they were aboard their ship, Jake activated the communication system. He knew that billions of humans were waiting to hear the results of this historic meeting. He took a deep breath and began to speak. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, he said. Today the Galactic Council has shown us their true nature. They fear what we have accomplished. They fear our potential. They want us to remain isolated and small while they control the galaxy, according to their ancient and rigid rules. Jake's voice grew stronger as he continued. But they have made a mistake. They think rejection will stop us. They think we will crawl back to our corner of the galaxy and hide. They are wrong. He looked directly into the camera. If they will not accept us as equals, we will show them what happens when humans forge their own path among the stars. We do not need their permission to explore. We do not need their approval to grow and prosper. We will build our own future, and it will be greater than anything they can imagine. As their ship moved away from the station, Jake made a promise to himself and to all humanity. The Galactic Council had rejected them today, but someday they would regret that decision. 15 years had passed since the Council's rejection, and Admiral Kate Sullivan had never seen space so busy with human activity. From the bridge of her ship, Terra Nova, she watched dozens of colony vessels heading toward new worlds. Each ship carried thousands of people ready to build new homes among the stars. Dr. Martin Ross stood beside her, reading from his tablet. As the chief scientist for the expansion program, he kept track of every new world they discovered. We now have colonies on 87 worlds, he told Kate. Poseidon is producing enough food to feed 10 million people. New Nevada's mines are pulling rare metals from asteroid belts. Skyfall's zero-gravity factories are building ships faster than Earth ever could. Kate nodded as she watched another colony ship disappear into the jump point. The Council thought they could keep us locked in one solar system. They did not understand what humans do when someone tells us we cannot do something. The expansion had started slowly. After Jake Morrison returned from the Council meeting, Earth's governments had argued for months about how to respond. Some wanted to accept the Council's decision and focus on developing the solar system. Others demanded immediate military action. President Sam Williams had chosen a different path. Instead of fighting or hiding, humanity would simply ignore the Council's restrictions. They would expand into space so quickly and completely that the aliens would have no choice but to accept them. The plan was working better than anyone had hoped. Human colonies were spreading across the galaxy at an incredible rate. Each new world was different, and humans adapted to all of them. On the ocean world of Poseidon, settlers lived in floating cities and underwater domes. They farmed sea plants and raised fish that could feed entire planets. The water was so clean and pure that other species paid huge amounts to buy it. New Nevada was built inside a massive asteroid belt. The colonists wore special suits and lived in tunnels carved from solid rock. Their mining robots dug up metals that were rare and valuable throughout the galaxy. The money they made helped fund more colonies. Skyfall was the strangest colony of all. The planet had no solid ground, just floating continents that drifted through thick clouds. The settlers built their cities on these moving islands and learned to manufacture things in the low-gravity environment. Dr. Ross flipped to another page on his tablet. The really interesting part is what we are learning about ourselves. Each colony is developing in different ways. The people on Poseidon are becoming expert swimmers and divers. The asteroid miners are getting stronger in low gravity. The Skyfall colonists can work with their hands in ways that would be impossible on Earth. Kate smiled. The council said we were too unpredictable. They were right, but not in the way they thought. Their conversation was interrupted by a message from Earth. President Williams appeared on the communication screen, looking older, but still determined. "Admiral Sullivan," he said, "I have an announcement to make that will change everything. Today we are founding the Terran Federation. Humanity will no longer be a collection of separate colonies scattered across space. We are becoming a unified government that can speak with one voice." Kate felt excitement building in her chest. This was what they had been working toward. The president continued. "The Federation will be different from the Galactic Council. We will not make decisions based on how old a species is or how long they have been in space. We will judge people by what they contribute and what they can do." The new government was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of a rigid hierarchy like the Council, the Federation was flexible and adaptive. Colonies could govern themselves as long as they contributed to the common good. New ideas were welcomed and tested quickly. Commander Ryan Parker had been exploring the edges of known space when he made first contact with species the Council had ignored. The Keth were a quiet, thoughtful people who lived on garden worlds and studied the growth of plants. The Council had dismissed them as unimportant because they were not interested in technology or expansion. But the Keth had something valuable that the Council did not appreciate. They understood how to make any world suitable for life. Their knowledge of biology and ecology was beyond anything humans had imagined. Ryan also met the Wanderer fleets, groups of nomadic aliens who traveled constantly between the stars. They had no permanent homes and lived their entire lives on their ships. The Council had refused to deal with them because they would not settle down and follow normal diplomatic rules. The Wanderers turned out to be excellent traders and navigators. They knew secret routes through space and had connections with species that lived far from Council territory. They were eager to work with humans because, like them, humans were not afraid to go to new places. Dr. Elena Foster made the most important discovery of all on the planet Kepler 442b. While exploring ancient ruins, her team found evidence that the current galactic civilization was not the first. Long ago, another group of species had built cities and traveled between the stars. "These ruins are at least 50,000 years old," Elena reported to Kate over the communication system. "But the technology is more advanced than anything the Council has today. Whatever happened to these people, they were far ahead of where we are now." The ruins contained strange machines that Elena's team could not understand. There were rooms filled with devices that seemed to bend space and time. Most interesting of all, there were pictures and symbols that showed many different species working together in ways the current Council would never allow. "It looks like they believed in cooperation and diversity," Elena explained. "These are not the ruins of one species that conquered others. This was a true alliance where different peoples contributed different skills." Kate found this discovery both exciting and troubling. If such an advanced civilization could disappear, what did that mean for the current galactic order? What had happened to destroy something so powerful and sophisticated? Meanwhile, on New Detroit, engineer Claire Adams was building something that would change everything. The industrial world had become humanity's main shipyard, where they constructed vessels larger and more capable than anyone thought possible. The flagship of the new fleet was Columbus Prime, a mobile city 15 kilometers long. It contained factories, farms, schools, hospitals, and homes for 2 million people. The ship could travel between stars while its inhabitants lived normal lives inside. "We are not just building ships," Claire explained to the Federation Council. "We are building a new way of life. Our people will not be tied to one world or one solar system. They will be citizens of space itself." The Federation announced its existence to the galaxy with a simple message broadcast from Earth. President Yao Williams spoke directly to every species, whether they belonged to the Council or not. "The Terran Federation extends friendship and partnership to all peoples of the galaxy," he said. "We do not seek to conquer or control. We seek to explore, to learn, and to build a future where diversity is celebrated rather than feared." The message reached species that had been ignored or rejected by the Council for thousands of years. Many of them began sending signals back to human space, interested in learning more about these newcomers who offered partnership instead of submission. By the end of the year, 17 different species had opened diplomatic relations with the Federation. Some were traders like the Wanderers. Others were scientists like the Keth. A few were warriors who had been driven away by the Council's peacekeeping forces. Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of Terra Nova and watched the first joint human-alien construction project. The orbital Station New Geneva was being built by teams from 6 different species, each contributing their unique skills and knowledge. "The Council wanted to keep us isolated," she said to Martin Ross. "Instead, they pushed us to create something better than what they have." Martin nodded and made a note on his tablet. "In 15 years, we have gone from 0 colonies to nearly 100. We have made friends with species the Council has ignored for millennia, and we are just getting started." As Terra Nova headed toward its next assignment, Kate looked out at the stars and smiled. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was probably discussing the human problem and wondering what to do about their rapid expansion. Let them wonder, she thought. Humanity had found its own path among the stars, and nothing would stop them now. 25 years after humanity's rejection, Captain Alex Turner was having a very bad day. His ship Pathfinder had been on a routine exploration mission when his sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. Dozens of Council warships were gathering near the border of human space. "How many ships are we looking at?" Alex asked his second-in-command, Lieutenant Nancy Green. Nancy checked her instruments again, hoping she had made a mistake. 47 vessels, Captain. Mostly Zephyrian battle cruisers and Drakmori command ships. They are setting up what looks like a blockade formation." Alex had been expecting something like this for years. The Galactic Council had watched in growing alarm as humanity spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In 25 years, humans had gone from 1 solar system to over 200 colonies. They had made friends with dozens of species that the Council had ignored or rejected. But it was more than just the expansion that worried the Council. Human technology was advancing at a frightening pace. Their ships were faster, their weapons more powerful, their computers more intelligent than anything the galaxy had seen before. "Send a message back to Federation Command," Alex told Nancy. "Tell them we have found what looks like preparation for military action against human space." The message reached Earth within hours, thanks to the new quantum communication system that humans had developed. Dr. Helen Grant, the Federation's intelligence director, was not surprised by the news. Her agents had been reporting increased Council military activity for months. Helen walked into the emergency meeting of the Federation Council carrying a thick file of intelligence reports. President Williams, now older and grayer but still sharp, looked up as she entered. "How bad is it, Helen?" he asked. "Worse than we thought," she replied, opening her file. "Our sources inside Council space report that they are planning what they call a containment operation. They want to prevent any further human expansion and possibly launch attacks on our outer colonies." The room fell silent. Everyone knew this day might come, but hoping and knowing were different things. Helen continued reading from her reports. "The new Council chairman is Krelthos of the Zephyrians. He is much more aggressive than his predecessor. He believes humanity represents an existential threat to galactic stability." "What exactly are they afraid of?" asked Admiral Sullivan, who had been promoted to head of Federation Defense. "Everything," Helen said simply. "Our rapid expansion, our technological progress, our alliance with non-Council species. But most of all, they fear our artificial intelligence systems." This was true. Humans had developed AI companions that worked alongside them as equals rather than servants. These artificial minds helped manage the complex logistics of running a galactic civilization. They designed better ships, solved scientific problems, and even created art and music. To the Council species, this was an abomination. They had strict laws against creating artificial intelligence, believing that such beings were dangerous and unpredictable. The fact that humans worked with AI as partners rather than fearing them was proof of human recklessness. The crisis deepened when news arrived of an attack on a human medical ship. Captain Julie Morgan had been commanding the hospital vessel Mercy's Light, bringing medical supplies to refugees from the plague-stricken world of Xerion. Xerion was not a council world. Its people had been rejected for membership years ago because of their strange biology. When a deadly disease began killing them by the millions, the council had declared the world under quarantine and forbidden any contact. But humans did not abandon people in need. Mercy's Light had been one of 3 medical ships sent to help the Xerion refugees who had fled to neutral space. Julie Morgan's final message was brief and desperate. Zephyrian warships are demanding we leave immediately. I have told them we are on a humanitarian mission, but they are not listening. They are powering weapons. I think they are going to. The message ended there. When Federation ships arrived at the location 3 days later, they found only wreckage and empty space. 347 human medical personnel were dead, along with 1,200 refugees they had been trying to save. The attack sent shockwaves through human space. These were not soldiers or explorers who had died. They were doctors and nurses whose only crime was trying to save lives. President Williams faced enormous pressure to retaliate militarily. Angry crowds gathered outside the Federation building on Earth, demanding immediate war against the Council. Military commanders presented plans for strikes against Zephyrian bases, but Admiral Sullivan had a different idea. If we attack them, now we become what they say we are, aggressive and violent. Instead, let us show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. Her proposal was bold and risky. Instead of retaliating with violence, the Federation would accelerate its expansion and openly challenge Council authority. They would offer protection and membership to any species that wanted to join them. The announcement came from President Williams himself, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. Today we declare the formation of the Alliance of Free Worlds. Unlike the Galactic Council, membership in our alliance is open to all species regardless of age, tradition, or the approval of others. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, 17 species applied for membership in the new alliance. The Cybernetic Nexus Collective, who had merged organic brains with computer systems, were eager to join humans who did not fear artificial intelligence. The hive mind, symphonies who shared thoughts and emotions across their entire species, had been rejected by the Council for being too alien. They found humans refreshingly accepting of different ways of thinking and communicating. Most dramatically, the energy-based Luminari announced they were leaving the Galactic Council to join the Alliance. These beings of pure light had been Council members for thousands of years, but they were tired of the rigid conservatism that prevented progress and exploration. The humans represent hope, announced Bright Singer of New Paths, the Luminary spokesperson. They show us that intelligence can take many forms and that cooperation is stronger than control. The Council's response was swift and predictable. Chairman Krelthos announced that any species that joined the Human Alliance would be considered enemies of galactic order. Trade with Alliance members was forbidden, and Council ships would blockade their territories. But the Council had underestimated how many species were unhappy with their rule. For thousands of years, countless peoples had been rejected, ignored, or oppressed by the rigid hierarchy of the ancient powers. Now they had an alternative. The first direct military confrontation came at Titan's Gate, a strategic jump point that connected human space to several Council trade routes. Admiral Turner, Alex's older brother, commanded a Federation fleet assigned to keep the route open for Alliance shipping. The Council sent a massive force to blockade the gate. 50 warships under the command of Zephyrian Fleet Admiral Caxivor took position around the jump point and began stopping all vessels trying to pass through. Federation ships, you are in violation of Council space, Caxivor announced over the communication channel. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Turner's response was calm and professional. Titan's Gate is in neutral space according to all recognized treaties. We have the right to be here. Your alliance is illegal, HFY replied. The Galactic Council is the only legitimate government in this galaxy. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly. Turner looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were humans from a dozen different colonies, working alongside AI partners and alien allies. This was exactly what the Council feared and what humanity represented. Admiral HFY, Turner said, humanity has learned something important in our short time among the stars. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. It is a shame that your council has forgotten this truth. The battle that followed was swift and decisive. Human ships moved with coordination that seemed almost supernatural, guided by AI systems that could process information faster than any organic mind. Their weapons were more accurate, their shields more adaptive, their tactics more flexible than anything the Council had seen. Within 6 hours, the Federation fleet had captured 12 Council vessels and forced the rest to retreat. Most importantly, they had done it with minimal casualties on both sides. This was not a massacre but a demonstration of capability. Admiral Turner's message to the galaxy was simple. The Alliance of Free Worlds does not seek conquest or revenge. We seek only the right to exist and to offer friendship to all peoples, but we will defend ourselves and our allies against any who would deny us this right. News of the battle spread quickly throughout the galaxy. The mighty Galactic Council, which had ruled for thousands of years, had been defeated by a species that had been in space for less than a century. As Admiral Turner watched the last Council ships disappear through the jump point, he thought about how much had changed since his brother Alex had first spotted enemy ships gathering at the border. The Council had tried to contain humanity through intimidation and force. Instead, they had pushed humans to create something new and better. The Alliance of Free Worlds was growing stronger every day, and there was no going back. The Battle of Titan's Gate changed everything. Within weeks of Admiral Turner's victory, the Galactic Council declared total war on humanity and the Alliance of Free Worlds. For the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy was truly at war. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of her new command ship, Liberty's Dawn. At 72 years old, she had hoped to spend her final years in peaceful exploration. Instead, she found herself leading the largest military force in human history against an enemy with thousands of years of experience. Status report, she said to her aide, Commander Frank Davis. We have 1,200 ships ready for combat, Frank replied. But the Council has over 3,000 vessels. They have the advantage in numbers and firepower. Kate nodded. She had expected this. The Council controlled most of the galaxy's resources and had been building warships for millennia. Humanity would have to win through cleverness and adaptation, rather than brute force. The war began with Council attacks on human colonies along the border. General Chris Anderson found himself defending the vital industrial world of New Detroit against a massive Zephyrian assault. The enemy came in waves, their heavy cruisers pounding the planet's orbital defenses with devastating weapons. But the Zephyrians had never fought humans before. They expected a traditional battle with neat formations and predictable tactics. Instead, they faced an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Human defenders used small, fast ships that could dart between the massive enemy vessels like angry insects. They attacked from unexpected angles, used the planet's moons as cover, and coordinated their movements with precision that seemed impossible. The key was the AI systems that humans used as partners. While Zephyrian commanders had to communicate orders through slow hierarchies, human forces moved as one organism guided by artificial minds that could process information at the speed of light. General Anderson watched from his command center as the enemy fleet began to retreat. How many ships did we lose? He asked his staff. 14 fighters and 2 patrol boats, came the reply. The Zephyrians lost 37 major vessels. Anderson shook his head in amazement. The Council had dismissed humans as primitive and reckless. They were learning the hard way that there was a difference between reckless and unpredictable. Dr. Martin Ross, now elderly but still sharp, led the team developing new weapons for the war effort. Working with captured Council technology and human innovation, They created devices that gave the Alliance crucial advantages. The quantum disruptor cannons could punch through enemy shields that had been thought impregnable. Adaptive armor changed its properties in response to different types of weapons. Most importantly, the new AI-guided defense systems could track and intercept hundreds of incoming missiles simultaneously. The Council's technology is impressive, Ross explained to Admiral Sullivan during one of their weekly briefings. But it has not changed much in thousands of years. They rely on proven methods and traditional approaches. We design something new for every battle. Captain Nicole Baker commanded the Alliance's Special Operations Forces, leading raids deep behind enemy lines. Her teams were made up of humans and aliens working together in ways that would have been impossible under the old Council system. Nicole's most daring mission was the attack on the Council's primary intelligence center at Drakmori Prime. The planet was heavily defended and considered impregnable, but Nicole had noticed something in the surveillance data. They defend against attacks from space, she told her team as they prepared for the mission. But they have never considered that someone might attack from inside the planet itself. Her force used captured mining equipment to tunnel up from the planet's core, emerging directly beneath the intelligence center. The raid was over in minutes, but the information they captured was priceless. The stolen data revealed the Council's complete battle plans, including a devastating attack on Earth itself. It also contained something even more valuable: proof that the Council had been lying to the galaxy for thousands of years. Admiral Paul Foster, Kate Sullivan's youngest fleet commander, had continued exploring the ancient ruins that Elena Foster's team had discovered years earlier. What he found there changed the course of the war. The previous galactic civilization was not destroyed by accident or natural disaster, Paul reported to the Alliance leadership. They were deliberately wiped out by the ancestors of the current Council species. The evidence was overwhelming. Ancient records showed that the Drakmori and their allies had waged a campaign of genocide against the previous alliance, destroying entire species and erasing their history from galactic memory. They did it because the old alliance believed in the same things we do, Paul explained. Cooperation between different species, rapid technological progress, and the rights of artificial intelligences to exist as equals. This discovery became a powerful weapon in the propaganda war. When the evidence was broadcast throughout the galaxy, many neutral species began to question the Council's claims to legitimate authority. If they had destroyed one galactic civilization to maintain power, might they do it again? The war's turning point came at the Battle of the Nexus Nebula, where Admiral Sullivan faced the largest Council fleet ever assembled. 3,000 enemy ships under the personal command of Chairman Krelthos moved to destroy the Alliance's main fleet once and for all. The battle seemed hopeless. Even with their technological advantages, the Alliance was outnumbered 3-1, but Sullivan had a secret weapon that the Council could not have imagined. As the enemy fleet closed in, she activated the Alliance's ultimate achievement, a fully integrated command system run by artificial intelligences working in perfect cooperation with organic minds. The AI entity known as Area coordinated the movements of over 1,000 Alliance ships with precision that seemed almost supernatural. Every vessel knew exactly where every other ship was and what it was doing at all times. The fleet moved like a single organism with 1,000 eyes and 1,000 arms. The Council ships, bound by rigid command structures and traditional tactics, could not adapt to this new form of warfare. They found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn, their formations disrupted, their communications jammed. Chairman Krelthos watched in horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was torn apart by an enemy that seemed to anticipate his every move. "How are they doing this?" he demanded of his advisors. "They are using artificial intelligence to coordinate their fleet," came the terrified reply. "The machines are thinking faster than we can react." The battle ended with the complete destruction or capture of the Council's main fleet. Chairman Krelthos was taken prisoner along with most of the Council's senior military leadership. For the first time in galactic history, the ancient powers had been decisively defeated. But victory came at a cost. The Council's siege of New Detroit had killed over 2 million civilians before the city's defenses could drive them off. The Alliance's retaliation against Zephyrian military bases had shown that humans could be just as devastating as their enemies when pushed too far. President Rebecca Stone, who had succeeded Williams during the war, faced the challenge of holding the Alliance together as victory seemed within reach. The Alliance now included over 60 species, each with their own grievances against the Council and their own ideas about what should happen next. Ambassador Danny Wright led the diplomatic effort to prevent the war from becoming a complete breakdown of galactic civilization. Even as Alliance fleets pushed deeper into Council territory, he worked to maintain communication with moderate Council members who wanted to end the fighting. "Our goal is not to destroy the old order completely," Wright explained to a gathering of Alliance leaders. "Our goal is to replace it with something better. We must show that we can build as well as fight." The final phase of the war began with Admiral Sullivan's boldest decision: a direct assault on Nexus Prime, the Council's seat of power. The massive space station had been the center of galactic government for thousands of years. Its capture would end the war once and for all. The attack force included ships from 43 different Alliance species, the largest combined fleet in galactic history. As they approached the heavily defended station, Sullivan opened a communication channel to the remaining Council members. "This war began because you could not accept that the galaxy was big enough for all of us," she said. "It will end when you learn that cooperation is stronger than control." The Battle of Nexus Prime lasted 3 days and ended with the station's surrender. The ancient Council chamber where humanity had been rejected 40 years earlier was now occupied by Alliance forces, representing dozens of species that had been dismissed or ignored by the old order. As Admiral Sullivan walked through the crystal halls she remembered from old videos, she thought about how much had changed. The Council had tried to keep humanity small and isolated. Instead, they had created the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic history. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The age of the Alliance of Free Worlds had begun. And at the center of it all was a species that had refused to accept no for an answer when they were told they could not reach for the stars. 5 years after the fall of Nexus Prime, Fleet Admiral Lisa Turner stood at the window of her command ship and watched the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. The new capital of the Galactic Alliance sparkled in the light of its twin suns. A city built not for one species, but for all the different peoples of the galaxy. New Geneva floated in space like a flower made of metal and crystal. Its sections were designed for different types of beings. There were underwater areas for aquatic species, low-gravity zones for those who lived among asteroids, and energy fields where beings of pure light could exist comfortably. Lisa's father, Alex Turner, had been one of the first humans to see Council warships gathering at the border. Now she commanded the fleet that kept peace throughout Alliance space. It was a different kind of peace than the galaxy had known before, one based on cooperation rather than fear. "Status report," she said to her second-in-command, Captain Mark Chen. "All sectors are quiet," Mark replied. "The trade routes are busy, exploration missions are on schedule, and we have had no major incidents in over 6 months." Lisa nodded with satisfaction. The transition from war to peace had been difficult, but the Alliance was proving that different species could work together for the common good. Chairman Marcus Webb walked through the halls of the new Alliance Council building, preparing for another day of governing the galaxy's most diverse civilization. As humanity's first representative to lead the galactic government, he faced challenges that no human had ever imagined. The Alliance Council was nothing like the old Galactic Council. Instead of 12 ancient species making decisions for everyone, else over 100 different peoples had representatives. The council chambers had been redesigned to accommodate beings who breathed different atmospheres, communicated in different ways, and thought in patterns that sometimes seemed completely alien. The Crystalline Collective wants to establish new mining colonies in the Outer Rim, his aide informed him as they walked. The Wanderer fleets are requesting permission to explore beyond the galactic edge, and the former Zephyrian worlds are asking for help rebuilding their industrial capacity. Marcus smiled. These were good problems to have. The galaxy was expanding and growing instead of stagnating under rigid rules. The fall of the old council had not been easy for everyone. The Zephyrians, who had built their entire culture around military strength and rigid hierarchy, struggled to adapt to the Alliance's emphasis on cooperation and flexibility. Many of their worlds had fallen into chaos when their traditional leaders were removed from power, but the Alliance did not abandon them. Instead of punishment, they offered help. Human engineers worked alongside reformed Zephyrian officers to rebuild damaged infrastructure. Alliance teachers helped establish new schools that taught cooperation instead of conquest. Dr. Amanda Foster, daughter of the famous archaeologist Elena Foster, led the ongoing exploration of ancient ruins throughout the galaxy. What her teams discovered continued to reshape everyone's understanding of galactic history. "We have found evidence of at least 12 different galactic civilizations," Amanda reported to the Council's Science Committee. "Each one fell when it became too rigid, too focused on control instead of growth. The ruins contained technologies beyond anything the current Alliance could build, but they also held warnings. Advanced civilizations had risen and fallen many times before, usually because they stopped adapting to change and tried to maintain power through force. The message is clear," Amanda explained. "Diversity and change are not threats to be eliminated. They are the keys to long-term survival." On Earth, President Rebecca Stone dedicated a memorial to all those who had died in the war. The names of humans and aliens alike were carved into a wall of black stone, a reminder that freedom had come at a great cost. "We remember them not as enemies who fell in battle," Stone said to the gathered crowd, "but as people who died because the galaxy forgot how to live together in peace." Earth had become more than humanity's homeworld. It was now a center of learning where young beings from hundreds of species came to study. The planet's universities taught not just human knowledge, but the wisdom of all Alliance members. Captain Jennifer Cole commanded the exploration vessel New Horizons, leading the first joint missions to regions beyond the galactic rim. Her crew included humans, former Council species, and beings that had been discovered only recently. "The universe is so much bigger than any of us imagined," Jennifer said as her ship prepared to enter a previously unexplored star cluster. "Every new world we find has the potential to teach us something amazing." These exploration missions represented everything the Alliance stood for. Instead of conquest or exploitation, they sought knowledge and friendship. When they encountered new species, they offered partnership rather than demanding submission. Dr. Martin Ross, now over 90 years old but still sharp, worked with artificial intelligence partners to establish research guidelines that balanced rapid progress with ethical responsibility. The human-AI partnership had become a model that many other species were trying to copy. "We have learned something important," Ross told a gathering of Alliance scientists. "Intelligence is not limited to organic brains. It can emerge in many forms, and each form has something unique to offer." Some species still struggled with the idea of artificial beings as equals. The Drakmori, in particular, had trouble accepting that machines could think and feel. But gradually, even the most conservative species were learning to work with AI partners. The former Council species faced different fates in the new galaxy. The trade-focused Kelani adapted quickly to the Alliance's expanded economic networks. Their skill at commerce made them valuable partners in establishing new trade routes and markets. The ancient Drakmori had the hardest time adjusting. As the founders of the old Council system, they were held responsible for thousands of years of oppression and stagnation. Many of their leaders faced trials for crimes against other species, but the Alliance believed in redemption rather than revenge. Drakmori who were willing to help build the new order were given positions where they could contribute their knowledge and experience. Those who clung to the old ways were isolated but not destroyed. The Luminari, beings of pure energy, who had joined the Alliance during the war, became some of its most important leaders. Their ability to communicate instantly across vast distances made them natural diplomats and coordinators. "We have seen the rise and fall of many civilizations," Bright Singer of New Paths explained to a council session. "The Alliance represents something we have never seen before, a government that celebrates difference instead of fearing it." Fleet Admiral Lisa Turner received a message that made her smile. Her old ship, the Pathfinder, had discovered another ancient ruin on a distant world. This one contained something unprecedented, records of successful galactic civilizations that had lasted for millions of years. The key to their success was simple, the report explained. They never stopped exploring, never stopped learning, and never stopped welcoming new members into their society. Admiral Kate Sullivan, now retired at the age of 97, sat in her garden on New Geneva and watched children from dozens of species playing together. The sight filled her with hope for the future. She remembered the day when Captain Jake Morrison had returned from humanity's rejection by the Galactic Council. At the time, it had seemed like the end of human dreams among the stars. Instead, it had been the beginning of something greater than anyone had imagined. The galaxy was no longer ruled by ancient species who feared change. It was led by an alliance that embraced diversity and innovation. Humans had played a crucial role in this transformation, but they had not done it alone. The Alliance's latest project was its most ambitious yet, the construction of ships capable of traveling to other galaxies. Captain Ryan Foster, Martin Ross's son, would lead the first expedition to Andromeda, taking representatives from over 50 species on a journey that would last several lifetimes. "This is what the old council never understood," Kate said to her AI companion, a being named Hope who had been with her for 20 years. "The universe belongs to all of us. It is too big and too wonderful for any one group to control." As the sun set over New Geneva, Kate watched ships from 100 different worlds arriving and departing. Some carried traders seeking new markets, others brought scientists eager to share discoveries. Many held families moving to new homes on distant planets. The galaxy was alive in ways it had not been for thousands of years. Species that had been enemies were now partners. Worlds that had been isolated were now connected. Technologies that had been forbidden were now helping everyone live better lives. Humanity had been dismissed by the Galactic Council as too dangerous, too unpredictable, too different to be trusted with membership in galactic civilization. The Council had been right about one thing. Humans were different. They were different because they refused to accept that things could not change. They were different because they saw diversity as strength rather than weakness. They were different because they believed that cooperation was more powerful than control. In trying to keep humanity small and contained, the old council had created the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic history.